We acknowledge that the United States of America and Israel are settler colonial states that have embraced the erasure of the original people of the land through the violence of land theft, resource extraction, environmental desecration, displacement, family separation, and genocide. We acknowledge the through line of settler colonialism here on Turtle Island and around the world, and its continuing impact upon peoples and the land that Indigenous peoples have stewarded for millennia. Today, we think of Gaza, Congo, Sierra Leone, Haiti, and Sudan. We have benefited from that system. We live in the richest country that has ever existed in the history of the world, a society made rich by the genociding of people and the theft of their lands, a society that built its wealth upon the backs of enslaved Africans. It is an imperial system of extraction, domination, and oppression that continues to enslave Black and Brown people in the modern-day carceral state, fails to protect women, continues to separate families, pushes people to the brink, and impoverishes us all. We welcome this opportunity to reflect, unlearn, decolonize, and grapple with these truths, and put the wisdom that we've earned to work. My name is Kelly Merrill, and I have the privilege of serving as the Deputy Campaign Manager for the Stein Ware campaign. The theme and focus of tonight's webinar is building real power for the people. Part of our intention tonight is to respond to recent attacks from AOC and other Dems that Jill and the Green Party are not doing enough. They won't tell you about the over 1,500 elections we have won. They will not talk about the radical, liberative, relational work we are doing to elevate the struggle of communities that have been brutalized by the state. They will not talk about supporting political prisoners and the plight of the Uhuru Three, including Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Penny Hess, and Jesse Neville. They won't talk about what they are doing about the Mountain Valley Pipeline or the devastation of the assault of the wall, LNG plants, and SpaceX on Indigenous lands and peoples down in Brownsville, Texas, and the Carrizo Camicrudo tribe, or the plight of Indigenous peoples displaced from Central America due to our disruption. They won't talk about the free speech trial of the century, and we are the voice of dissent. We are the voice of opposition to brutal forces, to genocide, to stop cop cities, which train state forces to utilize military equipment in urban civilian settings, trained by the very forces which are inflicting the bloodiest, most horrific of genocides, the brutal erasure of a people through apartheid, occupation, and ethnic cleansing. We are the uprising. We are doing this work around the country on this webinar. We are in school boards and city councils and water districts. We are protesting in the streets. And as Professor Ware said on a recent social media post, they will never see us coming because they aren't paying attention in the ways that we are paying attention. We are the vehicle for your vision for a just and equitable future. Now I'd like to hand it over to my comrade, mentor, and travel companion, head truth teller and organizer-in-chief. She is my sister in arms and the leader of this movement to meet the moment. It is my honor to turn it over to one of the great leaders of the resistance, Green Party presidential candidate, Dr. Jill Stein.
Thank you so very much, Kelly. Thank you to everyone here tonight. We are gathered here really to talk about building people power, not just to talk about it, but to advance it. And I am so honored to be here with so many powerful organizers, visionaries, incredible human spirits who are driving us forward. I want to just say a few words about some of the current developments that are so exciting. And as Kelly mentioned, some of the things that we've been doing out on the campaign trail with the Uhuru Three recently. We have been attacked by AOC, who was sent as a as a Democratic Party attack dog, and it's really been rather comical because it has really boomeranged back against her in a rather humorous way. She's been ratioed in the extreme in the process. It's been extremely validating. I have to say, this is kind of a repeat performance after a smear maybe 6 weeks ago from Jamie Harrison, the head of the DNC, who also got intensely ratioed in his effort to smear us as basically Russian assets, a smear campaign that kind of lost its traction several years ago, especially after the Senate Intelligence Committee totally laid that rumor, that smear campaign to rest. But to see AOC trying to vilify us as predatory because we're not, in her words, not adequately building green power. I mean, what a not exactly compelling argument for her to be making. Anyhow, it gave us an opportunity to really talk about building green power and the fact that we are, we don't just show up every 4 years. We're actually here all the time. It's just the media that shows up every 4 years. And that, in fact, we are not in the same category as the Working Families Party and AOC, because, in fact, the Working Families Party is not an independent third party. They are basically a second ballot line for Democrats. And further, that we are not, as Kelly mentioned, we're not just focused on the presidential race. The presidential is part of our spectrum of political fights. And we actually have to fight at the presidential level in order to maintain our ballot status in many states. So this is a system that they designed. And in fact, if you compare us with the other similar political parties, that is people-powered parties, not corporate-powered, not powered by billionaires and big corporate money, we're actually the giant among people-powered parties in that we've been able to maintain ballot status and to truly contest for power against empire and oligarchy across the nation, actually now for 2 decades approximately. And most independent, non-corporate parties have been totally beaten back over the years and rarely have more than a handful of ballot lines in barely more than a handful of states. The Peace and Freedom Party is maybe the best example of a similar people-powered party that at one time had 14 states and had that for all of 1 or 2 election cycles and then got beaten back. So that's the comparison to draw, not to compare us with, corporate-sponsored political parties. And in fact, in the parties that AOC ran with, in the Working Families Party, they were, protected from the assaults of the Democratic Party with their army of lawyers, their hijacking our public funding, their hiring in a really out front, unabashed, shameless way, hiring infiltrators and spies and so on to mess up our campaigns. So it's been a really revealing little dialogue that's attracted enormous interest, and it seems to be a subject that people are really paying attention to. So it's been actually a wonderful opportunity to set the record straight, because all third parties are not created equal. This is a big mythology used to cover up the very important mission of people-powered parties. It's not whether you are a third party or a fourth party or a fifth party. The question is whether you are part of that same old corrupt big money machine, which we are not. So it's been extremely validating to have been assaulted by AOC, and we continue to invite her, if she dares, to continue this conversation publicly. So that's just a sign of the times and kind of a big wake-up call that seems to be going out right now in so many ways. Other signs of the times are, reminding us that we have an absolutely critical role to play in this election as the only anti-genocide, anti-war, pro-worker, climate emergency campaign that is on the ballot pretty much for all voters. It'll probably be about 95%. And I should mention that as part of the strategies of the anti-democratic party, they continue to attack us. They continue to try to throw us off the ballot. And we got bad news yesterday that they succeeded in Nevada. In Nevada, we submitted 3 times the number of signatures required. It was about 30,000 signatures we submitted, which was way over the requirement. And initially, the state election board said, "Great, you've made it." They put us on the ballot. The DNC then sued with a bogus argument. They were allowed to change their argument midstream to basically that they didn't like the forms that we used. This is typical lawfare, just violating the spirit of the law, looking at some little trivial detail. They're trying to throw us off the ballot. They lost in their initial lawsuit, but then they appealed. And what we learned yesterday was that the appeals court reversed the decision, basically taking us off the ballot. But just maybe 15 minutes ago, we got a call from Richard Winger, who's like the guru of ballot access, been fighting for it his whole life. Amazing. And he had really great news, which was that this is the perfect setting in which to ask the Supreme Court for an emergency ruling to stay that appeals court decision. And if they do that, then we're back on. So at any rate, of the 3 states in which the Democrats have tried to throw us off, they've definitely lost in Wisconsin. We prevailed. Democracy prevailed. We hope to appeal now this very anti-democratic ruling by the Nevada Supreme Court. We hope to appeal that, and we are still in the midst of challenging in Georgia, challenging their effort to toss us off the ballot. So, the fight goes on, and it's a strong fight. It's a fight in which we have enormous public support. And whether we win or lose, this too is part of building building the movement, building our fight for the long haul to create an America and a world that we deserve, to stand up and present to the American people an option to end genocide, to challenge empire, to end the crushing inequality, create an economy that works for working people, and put an end, to the endless wars and the climate crisis. So that falls on us. We're like it as a nationwide choice that can truly challenge empire. So I want to just thank everyone so much for being a part of this powerful movement whose time has really come. And there are many major demographics who are otherwise locked out. 1 out of every 3 eligible voters did not vote in 2020 because they, don't like the zombies being rammed down our throats. So, that's a lot of people who could be mobilized right now. Today, we had our first organizing meeting with a major Muslim American coalition, and the Muslim Americans are unbelievably well organized and disciplined and focused. So this was a meeting with the Muslim American Coalition in Illinois, the so-called Muslim Civic Coalition, which goes well beyond Muslims, I must say. It's a variety of progressives fighting for everyday people, for justice and for peace. And they are aiming for, if I remember correctly, 200,000 votes in Illinois as a floor. As the floor for what we hope to do. And so it's unbelievably exciting. And I have to say, it makes this election different from any other election that I have been part of, that through our collective efforts now, we have the networks and the organizing capability to be working with these really powerful groups. And it's great to see the Muslim Americans getting jump-started. There are several other really powerful, enlightened, inspirational groups that are also represented here tonight. And I'm going to turn this over to one of those groups in a moment. But before we do, I want to acknowledge another development, again, a sign of the times and these very critical developments in Israel. As people know, that Israel now, the apartheid state of Israel, is attempting to, is expanding its genocidal war into the West Bank, which has been smoldering for a while and is now getting a whole lot worse rather quickly. And there was a very inspired and wonderful volunteer from Washington State who was targeted and assassinated just yesterday. And this is an incredible loss to the whole community. This is Ayşenur Izgi Ege, if I'm saying her name correctly, a young American woman of Turkish descent who's been very powerful in the movement to stand up and stop the genocide. And I would like to just take a moment now of silence in her honor and in her memory as we are inspired by her work and take her on as part of our collective work to be furthering the incredible and inspirational work and her ultimate sacrifice that she made. Tragic, absolutely tragic. And we hold her in our hearts and in our memories. So I'm just going to take a moment of silence here in her memory. And then I'm going to now turn it over to Kshama Sawant. Kshama is well known, I think, to everyone on the call here. Kshama was a close friend of Ayşenur's, so Kshama will say a few words to start us off in memory of Ayşenur, so we can, continue to lift her up. And then Kshama will tell us about some of the incredibly exciting and wonderful work that she's involved with working with Workers Strike Back in the incredible work that they are doing in general on behalf of workers, but also to help mobilize people for our campaign. And as people know, Kshama was a member of the Seattle City Council. She launched the Fight for 15 nationwide, really sparked a national movement that continues to this day. And we're so honored to have her as a part of our team in this fight, in this election, and for the longer haul as we work together to build worker power. So take it away, Kshama. Thank you so much. And again, really sincere condolences on the loss of your dear friend.
Thank you so much, Jill. That means a great deal to us. This week, the Israeli military brutally murdered Seattle resident and recent University of Washington graduate, Eski Igi, while she was protesting against the illegal expansion of settlements in the West Bank and the genocide in Gaza. Eski was murdered with a shot to her head. I knew Eski personally. She and I were in the same socialist organization for several years. My last conversation with Eski was only a couple of months ago at a worker strike back meeting in Seattle. We spoke about her involvement in the campus anti-war protests at the University of Washington, the strategy for the anti-war movement, and about the need to vote against both the warmongering candidates in this election. As she herself would have said, the media attention Eski's killing has received, as opposed to the 200,000 Palestinian deaths, is because she was an American citizen. The best way we can honor her memory is by organizing to end the genocide. But at this moment, organizing against the genocide has to mean taking a stand against genocide in the US presidential election, which in turn has to mean rejecting both the warmongering candidates, Harris and Trump, and their warmongering parties, the Democrats and Republicans. Because what stands out is that even this brutal murder of an American citizen has not slowed the advance of the bloody policies of the Biden-Harris administration 1 inch. The horrific landscape in Gaza and increasingly the West Bank is unspeakable. It has advanced more rapidly than perhaps any genocide of this scale in human history. In less than 1 year, an estimated 10% of the population is now dead. Alongside the bloody carnage is the shocking destruction of infrastructure of every aspect, from roads to residential buildings, from hospitals to universities. This has itself claimed tens of thousands of lives due to lack of water, food, sanitation, and mobility. And make no mistake about the objectives of Netanyahu and the Israeli ruling class. This is about flattening Gaza and the West Bank on such a scale as to make it unlivable for those Palestinians who survived the genocide. Some have even speculated that it is an attempt by the Israeli ruling class at a final solution of their genocidal ethnic cleansing project. The Israeli ruling class have done and said nothing to prove otherwise. Democratic Party leaders and leaders of organizations that are tied at the hip to the Democrats, including the labor leaders who are cheerleading Harris, have over many decades used the slogan "never again" in reference to genocide. They can never again use this slogan. They have lost all credibility, all authority, all believability to speak of the needs of the oppressed. They have no right to talk about Eski. This party has always been a rotten, warmongering party of the billionaire class. It is now morally and politically bankrupt in every sense of the word. The blood of Eski and of the 200,000 Palestinian lives lost in this genocide are all over the hands of Harris, Biden, and the whole Democratic Party, as it is all over their system as well, their system of capitalism, which, as Karl Marx said, comes dripping from head to foot from every pore with blood and dirt. As for working people and the oppressed, we can never support the Democratic Party again. This starts now, and in fact, it should have started long ago. The bare minimum that can be done at present in order to stand against genocide is to vote against both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, and to vote instead for Jill Stein and Butch Ware. We're called on to do much more. As those of you on this call will know, and as Jill mentioned, AOC recently attacked Jill Stein on social media in an utterly shameful video. AOC, who herself has blood on her hands by disgustingly backing first Biden and now Harris to the hilt, called Jill predatory. We should not be surprised, and this tells you all you need to know about AOC at this point. She has herself become a thoroughly predatory figure. From running as a self-described workers' representative and quote-unquote democratic socialist, she is now an unapologetic attack dog for the Democratic Party and, in reality, the billionaire class. This is after she completely abandoned her own promises to fight for Medicare for all, a $15 an hour minimum wage, and defend the same working people she completely betrayed, including by becoming a strike breaker against the railroad workers. And now she's defending genocide by defending Harris. Yes, that is what she is doing. It is fitting, in a way, that if there was any remaining idea that the Democrats could be reformed from the inside, that AOC herself would be the final nail in the coffin of that utterly failed strategy. I said that voting against Harris and Trump is the bare minimum that working people can do who oppose this genocide and the fest of bloody anti-worker agenda of the billionaire class. What are the next steps? We need to fight for every single vote we can for Jill Stein and Butch Ware in every single state, not every so-called safe state, but every single state. And I agree with Brother Hassan Abdul Salam, founder of the Abandon Harris movement. The most important state is Michigan. We need to send the clearest possible message to the warmongering Democratic Party by doing everything possible to defeat Harris in Michigan. The line of history runs through Michigan. We need to be on the correct side of history, and we need to bring along as many people as possible to stand with us on that side, on the side against genocide and imperialist war, on the side against the anti-worker billionaire agenda. We need to do this systematically by building mass rallies in Michigan and other states. We need to carry out systematic get out the vote operations in key states. We will be doing one here in Washington State, and we will be supporting efforts in Michigan and elsewhere. We need to publicly and courageously stand up against all the attack dogs, and there will be lots more attacks by allegedly progressive figures like AOC. The Democratic dogs of war are still just getting started. We need a new mass party for working people and the oppressed, and we will never get there by backing the warmongering parties of the billionaire class in election after election. I also agree with Hassan that there can be no talk of a quote unquote lesser evil in this election. Because, as he put it very simply, there is no gentler genocide. Esgi could testify to that if she were here with us, as she could be if Biden and Harris had cut off all military funding to Israel and ended the genocidal war. My organization, Worker Strike Back, is hosting multiple meetings this coming week, a national Zoom meeting tomorrow, a meeting in Seattle alongside Abandon Harris on Monday, which will be live streamed, where we will be honoring Esgi's memory, and meetings in Kansas City, Chicago, and Boston. Please use the link from the Zoom chat to register for any of these events. Worker Strike Back is also calling for a mass organizing conference next February after the election so that we can take forward the momentum of what we are doing now, so we can build on it to fight against this genocidal war, to fight for real gains for working people and the oppressed. We need to get far better organized so that we can tap into the enormous potential power that working people have, and it is enormous, to fundamentally change society. Thank you and solidarity.
Thank you so much, Kshama. Your work is such an inspiration, and your experience, having fought in several elections to overcome, the enormous machine opposition, and to have basically organized at the local level, at the street level, at the neighborhood level. It's exactly that experience that we need to duplicate, to lift up and to magnify, because we have to do that. Winning elections is all about field organizing. It's about the outreach. It's about turning the crank in flyering and tabling and door knocking and phone banking. And this is very much what we need to do. And we're so honored to have you with us leading the charge. Thank you so much. We're going to turn now to my running mate, Butch Ware, also known as B. Ware.
Yes.
Who's really doing such a superb job out on the campaign trail. I'm going to mince words here and just say, his bio is wonderful, fabulous, inspirational. He's exactly who we needed at this time. Someone who is actually a professor of history, and not just any old history. It's the history of empire, the history of genocide, and the history of revolution. It's kind of, tracking out exactly what it is that we are doing right now. So he's got the big view of what's going on, and it's really wonderful. It's just so wonderful to have him on board leading the charge. So take it away, Butch.
Yeah. So I'm always happy to be tagged in by my sister soldier, Jill Stein. Not even 3 weeks ago, got tagged into this fight. And we have a green wave that is now sweeping emerald over this country. I really like the way that you set things up for me, talking about history and the function of history. Malcolm X, my inspiration, both as a radical and in my spiritual life. Malcolm said, of all the disciplines, history is the most likely to bear fruit for our people. So this liberatory struggle is rooted in history. So we'll start with Malcolm. Malcolm said, never let your enemy tell you how many of you there are. We have been drilled by the propaganda machine of Team Blue and Team Red, with MSNBC running cover and carrying water for Team Blue, with Fox News running cover and carrying water for Team Red, and with CNN running cover and carrying water for the corporate 1% as a whole. So people have gotten swept up in this propagandistic nonsense that we are few in numbers, when in point of fact, the American people are overwhelmingly standing against genocide. And as we continue to develop power in this movement, you will see that we will start to bring in significant numbers. Malcolm also said, We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized. So the theme that we have for this evening, building power, that is the word. This is the time for building power. This is not the time for making protests. This is not the time for making statements with our vote. This is the time for building and consolidating the power that is going to be necessary to beat back the evil of this age. I have studied the history of white supremacy, of imperialism, of capitalist exploitation as it has affected Africa, the diaspora, the Muslim world. And now I have been tagged into the fight against those three evils in my time. And we are here, Jill Stein and myself, a doctor and a professor, an anti-Zionist Jew and a Black Muslim man. And we are here to help liberate humanity from the yoke of this oppression in this time. And it's going to take organization. Kwame Ture, while we're talking about history, Stokely Carmichael started out with Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. He said, people usually mobilize around issues, but revolutionaries organize against systems. And in my systematic study of resistance movements to these evil forces, it has usually been the case in the modern period that successful revolutions begin with party organizing. So a dream that was hatched on McAllister campus in 1984, and here I am in Minneapolis, Minnesota, 40 years later. The Green Party hatched, McAllister University, 1984, 40 years later is coming to fruition. A dream that was carried by my mother, other than my mother, Annie Young, first elected Green Party official in the state of Minnesota, Parks and Recreation Board for almost 3 decades, one of Dr. Jill Stein's mentors when she came into the Green Party. A dream is coming to fruition, a movement is moving. So Kwame Ture said revolutionaries organize against systems, and that's precisely what we are doing. And the system that we are organizing against is this duopoly, this purple fascism, this mix of red and blue that is driven by corporate interests. And in order to get to the next phase of this conversation, I have to say a few words about how dark it actually is. So I'm going to be a historian about this. What we are witnessing in Gaza is, properly speaking, a decimation, okay? And decimation goes deeper than you realize if you understand the etymology of the word. This is the point in the class where I would ask my students to raise their hand if they know what the word decimate means, but it comes from the same root as our decimal system. And what it means is that in the Roman Empire, when the Roman generals would lose a battle, to humiliate their soldiers and to punish them, they would have them count off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And they would punish their soldiers by killing every 10th individual. That is why a word that means 1/10 came to mean to eviscerate, to destroy, to decimate. The population in Gaza has been decimated. 1 in 10 at least gone. So this is an absolute and utter moral imperative that we take action in this moment. And action is what we are taking. We are not daunted by the size of the problem. We are inspired to rise to the moment, to struggle against it. And we are reading the data. And the data indicates, and this is where I would like to respectfully and with all possible love, gently disagree with my sister Kshama. We're not there to defeat Harris in Michigan. We are there to turn Michigan green. We are there to turn Michigan green. This is not about defeating Team Blue or Team Red. This is about Team Green winning. Because when Team Green wins, the American people win. We have to lose the attitude that we are only in this fight to fight and start to take on the attitude that we are fighting in this fight to win. Because the American people need us to fight in this fight to win. And the world needs an American government that is not run by bloodthirsty imperialists. Dr. Jill Stein had me at hello when she said that her aim is to dismantle the American empire and bring reparations to my people. So we are ready to go and we are ready to fight. And I'm going to say one last word. This one's not about history. This is about the future. Okay. So ISPU, Institute for Social Policy and Understanding, released publicly available figures, and I'm combing through these to point out the following things. In the states of Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, the Muslim population was decisive in the 2020 election. 65% of the Muslim population voted for Joe Biden. And in those states, all of which have large percentage of African American voters and large percentage of Muslim voters, and let's not forget that Black Muslims are still the largest single ethnic contingent in the American Muslim community. As Black Muslims go, so go the Muslims. So what happened is that this genocide caused the Muslim voters to flee completely from the Democratic Party. They are not coming back, from 65% in 2020 to 12% in January 2024. In those three core swing states. That's why I'm not thinking about defeating Harris. The Democrats have already lost this election. They know that they've already lost this election, and that's why they sick their attack dog, and let's say her name right. It's AOC Pelosi. That's her name. She is no longer AOC. She is AOC Pelosi because she has sold out the people, gone corporate, turned her back on the people. She set, as I put it, a land speed record for betraying the people. And in the last 2 years alone has collected $18 million of the people's money while they're still holding on to our $300,000 in matching funds. They have already lost. Dead man walking, Team Blue. And as we start to see that it's not just going to be Michigan, but it's going to be the District of Columbia, and then the internal polling is going to start to show that it's Pennsylvania. What happens when a team wins a primary? Then everybody starts to get behind that team. We are going to turn the District of Columbia emerald green. We're going to turn Michigan emerald green, and a green wave is going to sweep over this country with Dr. Jill Stein leading the way. I've been tasked to also introduce, assuming Kelly will correct me if I've gotten the run of show incorrect. Okay, excellent. Another one of my sister soldiers, and the first one to respond to the call that I made. And this is our sister, Brittany Johnson, at Benji B Go on Instagram. And I've made a call, and I expect everyone on this call to record a video just like our sister did. This is, one of the most dynamic and active, politically engaged. I don't even, want to call you an influencer. I want to call you a thought leader, somebody that has risen up just like I have, from humble beginnings to offer inspiration to the people, now a social media feed that reaches almost 1 million followers. And she recorded a video saying, "I am Brittany Johnson. We are struggling for collective change." And then she answered the question, "Why now?" And every single one of you that's on this call needs to record a video just like that and invite myself and Dr. Jill as collaborators so we can spread this to the world. Brittany, what was the last view count on that reel on Instagram? Have you checked it lately?
It's close to almost 200,000, and it's also on Facebook too. So thank you.
So,
Yes.
so we are at 200,000 views and counting just on Instagram alone. We are about to set the social media world on fire. And then the last thing that I'm going to say is that we are also setting the conventional media world on fire. Y'all don't know this, but I'm just going to give you guys a quick preview. You talked about Michigan. Dr. Jill and I will be on Michigan on 9/11 to do a 9/11 memorial, a march from the county courthouse in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I used to teach, to the steps of Angel Hall, where I used to teach. And that is something that they're going to have to cover when we have a moment of silence and a moment of prayer, not only for all the souls lost on 9/11, but for the hundreds of thousands of people, the Muslims and the other people, and the Iraqi Christians and others that died in America's genocidal wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Hundreds of thousands gone. And that will follow after a September 10th appearance on the most widely watched and listened to program in Black America, The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne. And that will come on the heels of September 9th, a sit down with Mehdi Hassan. who I met at the Islamic Society of North America conference and said, Mehdi, when are you going to get us to sit down? And now it's happening. So we are taking the social media world by storm with folks like our sister Brittany and the conventional media as well. And I'm going to pass the baton to my sister so she can sprint with it.
Thank you so much, Butch. I appreciate you and Dr. Stein. I'll have to say, honestly, I do not like politics. They've always made us to believe that there was nothing that was going to change for anyone in the poorer community, so I never paid attention to it. But I will have to say that after seeing this genocide live stream, after seeing children being decapitated and decimated, I can't just sit by and watch. And I sought out to look for a third party. I was asking everywhere. I said, is there anywhere else we can send our vote? Because I cannot send it to the Republicans. I cannot send it to the Democrats. And that's how I found Dr. Stein. And I'm so thankful to be a part of this movement. I'm so thankful to give my vote to Dr. Stein and Professor Butch Ware. I believe in this mission. I believe we can win. I believe that the Democrats know we can win too. That's why they sent AOC out to attack and the problem. And she knows she made a mistake because now she acknowledged that the Green Party is a threat. And so I'm here to say that I'm with everyone else. I'm rallying. I'm with this. I'm not stopping. That the Green Party is the change that we need. Dr. Stein and Professor Butch Ware are the change that America needs, and also the rest of the world. And Palestine is depending on us. And my condolences to the American that we lost in the fight too. So this is for her also. And so that's all I wanted to say. And I'm here with everyone. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Brittany. It's wonderful to have you here, and it's an honor to meet you. And we're really excited about working with you and your inspirational voice. And we share your feelings about politics as usual. And, those of us who are active in this, we consider ourselves anti-politicians. I consider myself an anti-politician. And, so we're right on the same page here, and really grateful to be working with you. Thank you so much. I'm going to now turn to our next speaker, who never fails to just really inspire in a deep way. We are very honored to have again with us tonight Susan Abulhawa, a Palestinian writer, best known for her debut novel, Mornings in Jenin, which was an international bestseller translated into 32 languages, which made her the most widely read Palestinian novelist in the world. And she's written several subsequent novels, The Blue, Between Sky and Water, Against the Loveless World. They were likewise international bestsellers. She is the executive director of the Palestine Rights Literature Festival, which was at the heart of recent congressional hearings against the University of Pennsylvania's president, Liz Magill. And Susan is the founder and director of an all-volunteer children's charity. She's an activist. She's a prolific writer. She's a political analyst and commentator. She was in Gaza twice since the beginning of the genocide. She's spending a lot of time in southern and middle Gaza between February and May of this year. So thank you so much. And I must say, Susan is just an inspirational organizer now. And we are so lucky to have her with us here in this campaign and in this movement for the long haul, the movement to take back our politics and make it green and people-powered and working for all of us. Thank you so very much, Susan. Take it away.
Thank you for that generous introduction, Jill. So as a Palestinian who has lived under Israeli occupation and as an exile who has been dislocated and dispossessed and disinherited of a magnificent indigenous Palestinian heritage, as a woman who has dedicated her life to liberation, not just Palestinian liberation, but global liberation, because it's all connected. And as Jill said, as someone who witnessed firsthand the horrors on the ground in Gaza, it's a joy to advocate for Doctors Jill, Stein, and Butch Ware, who represent the only party on our ballots with a platform that comports with my sense of morality and my sense of justice. And I want to say that I am with Butch when he talks about turning states green, because I believe we are limited only by what we dare to imagine. And the speakers before me spoke quite eloquently about most of the issues that I was going to touch on. So instead, I'm just going to tell you about two things that came up in my life recently around this election, which I think are instructive and pertinent to all of us. So a couple of weeks ago, I was at a gathering for Stein Ware campaign in Philadelphia, and a young woman took the mic at the end to try to make an appeal for our candidates. And while she was talking, she said something to the effect that all of us on the fringe and all of us misfits need to band together. And I kind of wanted to scream that while, yes, the Green Party is inclusive of everyone, this party actually represents not only the will of the majority of Americans, but in fact, the majority of humanity. The whole of our planet wants an end to Israel's genocide of Palestinians. The whole of our planet wants an end to Israeli impunity, an end to America's forever wars. And they want accountability to those who have been ravaging our planet and the precarious life that it holds. We are not the fringe. We are the 99%. The Greens platform represents, in fact, the world that we all claim to want. And they've made that world a possibility for all of us. They're handing it to us on a silver platter, and all we have to do is reach for it. All of us have to reach for it in November. It really is that simple, and it really can be that simple to create the change we want and the change that we need. You don't have to be a slave to the two-party system. The idea that you have to pick one of two evils is nothing more than chains around our minds. Every election, they make the public feel like they're in an emergency state. And if they don't pull the lever, the red lever or the blue lever, that doom will descend upon us all. This sense of urgency, after all, is frankly familiar to most Americans. It's the same urgency that people feel in this horrible system that we're forced to exist in, where you have to choose every month between paying your rent or paying for your insulin, between sending your kid to a dangerous and disorienting public school or keeping them at home, or trying to get them into a profit-driven charter school where a few executives are siphoning public education dollars so they can buy yachts. These are the urgent choices in this urgent sense that Americans are forced to exist under. It's that familiar feeling that they've conditioned people to have when they have to choose between taking a third job to make ends meet or keeping that extra couple of hours a day so they can rest and be with their families. Americans accept this sense of emergency every election because they've already been conditioned to live in a state of emergency, believing that making impossible choices is natural. And we're trying to tell you that it's not natural. We're trying to tell you that the way we are living is a perversion of life. We're trying to tell you that it's not normal and it's not natural to watch a live stream genocide and then think you have to choose between the two genocide enablers. We're trying to tell you that it's not normal and it is not natural that 81 billionaires own more than half of the entire world's, more than what half of the entire world's population owns. It is not normal and it is not natural that extreme wealth and extreme poverty have seen a consistent, sharp, and simultaneous rise. One billionaire emits 1 million times more carbon than the average person in the world, and the richest 1% own 2/3 of all new global wealth. Neither the Republicans nor the Democrats are going to change any of that. In fact, they're going to see that it continues and that it intensifies. So I said there was another, I don't want to take too much time, but I said there was another thing that came up in my life recently that I wanted to mention too. So let me get to that real quick before my time runs out. So I had dinner with a young person a couple of nights ago who told me that he wasn't planning to vote because he felt that that was his way of rejecting a terrible system. It was a protest. And this is a thoughtful young man. He's smart, but he's wrong. And I had to set him straight. And so in case there are any folks like him in this audience, I want to tell you what I said to him. By not voting, you are actually participating in the system that you abhor in exactly the way that the system was intended for you to participate, i.e., by being disenfranchised. Just because you're making the choice doesn't mean you're not disenfranchised. This democracy was initially set up for white male property owners. That's it. Those were the only folks who were intended to vote from the beginning. And slowly, through a lot of struggle, through a lot of blood, a lot of violence and oppression and resistance, others claimed what was theirs, namely non-property owners, women, Black Americans, Indigenous Americans, I think in that order. But you know, like I know, that they're always inventing new ways to keep folks away from the ballots, just like they try to keep our candidates off the ballots, whether it's gerrymandering, mass incarceration, various ID requirements, lawsuits, long voting lines, etc. You know all their tricks. So you deciding not to vote is making it easier for them. Because people with a moral compass and a conscience and critical thinking skills who reject the system are not really wanted or welcome in the system. So by staying at home, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. If you really want to reject this corrupt system, then use its own levers against it. Vote for a third party. Vote for Dr. Jill Stein and Professor Butch Ware. Because when you vote for them, you are voting for hope, not your fear. You're voting for the good, not the lesser evil. You're voting for accessible healthcare, for a green economy, for universal clean water, for food sovereignty, for an equitable, vibrant education system for our children, for our future. And you're voting for an end to the horrific bloodletting that's fueled by these supremacist ideals and this capitalist greed that's destroying us all. We need Jill and Butch in the White House. It's not a pipe dream if you just change your mindset and reach for what they're offering to all of us. And let me end by saying that I don't just want you to vote for the Greens. I want you to campaign for them, to convince your family and your friends and your community to vote for them, and to also campaign for them, to volunteer for this campaign, to get people registered to vote if they're not already registered. I'm asking you to be part of this revolution from the ground up. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you for your wonderful, inspirational words. You're absolutely right. This is about persuading people or reminding people that we have the power to break those chains. And it's like breaking up with an abusive domestic relationship. The minute you break up with your abuser, suddenly you realize there's a whole life to be had, and you don't have to make excuses for your abuser and subjugate yourself to a life of misery. We actually have agency. We have political agency. It's all about flicking the switch in our brains because we are propagandized 24/7 that we're powerless, that resistance is futile, and that it's hopeless to think otherwise. But in fact, that is the propaganda because the forces of empire are actually terrified. They are quaking in their boots that we are waking up, we are breaking away, and we are taking back our future. And thank you so much for your beautiful words and for your conviction. And you're absolutely right. This is not just about voting green. This is about getting out there and, plugging in and being a part of this movement. It's not complicated. It's all about turning the crank. And we really urge you to sign up on the volunteer list if you're not already, or to connect with your local Green Party. But this is all about getting out, door knocking, flyering, tabling, and phone banking. It really is about getting the word out, because people are in the throes of an uprising right now and are really looking for a politics that's for us. And as Susan was saying, this is not about the lesser evil. This is about fighting for the greater good. And that's what we are. And we are the ones we've been waiting for. There's nowhere else to get it in this election. So we're really excited to be working with you, Susan, and everybody out there. Thank you so very much. We'll turn to our next speaker now, who I guess is our last speaker of the evening. Last but not least, this is Chester Todd, who's been such a wonderful person to get to know in the course of our campaign. We met Chester touring in his district, where he's running for Congress in Wisconsin, in the first district of Congress. And we were really blown away by meeting Chester, who is an amazing power unto himself, who's been around the block a few times and who's only sharper and more powerful and more convincing for all of those 80 years of experience. I don't remember exactly what the number is.
82.
Is it 82? Well, you don't look a day over 50, I gotta say.
I feel like I'm 90.
Well, you're showing us all how to do it, Chester. And Chester just brings incredible wisdom to this struggle. He says he's voted Green often since the year 96, and he just joined the Wisconsin Green Party last year. And over the years, he just saw Democrats coming into Black, brown, and poor communities before every election with empty promises asking for votes, only to disappear and abandon those promises after the election. So he decided finally to run for Congress this year out of frustration over the Democrats, and to show them that voters in the community to show to the voters in the community that he lives in that they cannot be taken for granted. So he's using this campaign to jumpstart a movement. He's doing an absolutely inspirational job, including having cultivated a supporter, a mentee, a young man that Chester is mentoring, Xavier Golden, who Chester expects to be running in his footsteps for the same congressional seat starting in the next election cycle. So I'm going to turn it over to Chester to close out this section of our rally. So take it away, Chester.
Thank you, Jill. Oh, wow, do I love you. You are just the greatest, And yes, each one teach one. My young protege, really deep into the Green Party. And, that's what I am as a Black man, as an elder in the Black community, triple OG. My job is to try and steer people to thinking in a positive and right direction for those of us who are disenfranchised, have no say-so in this capitalistic democracy. Seem to forget, right, that we got two parties. That's not the complete population of the United States that's voting or gets a right to have their voices heard. Maybe they're voting, but it's insane. It's just insane the way we look. And there's something I wanted to hit on. I took some notes. Predatory. Predatory. What the hell are they talking about? Every 2 to 4 years, usually every 4, because blacks in Wisconsin usually don't vote too much in the primaries, but are in the off season. But let that 4th year come around, and here they come with their promises. Now, if that isn't predatory, when you come to me and lie in my face about what you're trying to do for me, and we fall for this. I'm talking about the Black community. I'm sorry, I don't hold no words. I don't have no filter. We fall for this each and every time, and we spend 90% probably or more of our political capital, and we never get a receipt stamp paid in full. Nothing ever happens to the completion of why we gave you this capital. This is ridiculous. My job before I leave here, if God grant me, is to try to spread the seed that the people, disenfranchised people, that means poor whites, poor Hispanics, poor blacks, you know, we have got to realize we're the change. No one else needs to change. We're the ones that need to change. And so if we're looking upwards to say, please help us, forget it. You're not going to get nothing but some raindrops in your face or some disappointments. Come over here to the Green Party. Let us show you how to correct these atrocities that are happening towards the poor. And they are atrocities. Just because we're Americans, do not believe that this form of governance will not step on you for the almighty dollar, because that's what's happening. That's what's happening. I mean, it's right in our face. We see it every day, and we're anesthetized to it. Like Susan, I said, I think that said how they throw all kind of smoke screens in our face. You're black, you're white, you're lesbian, you're this and you're that, and we fight over these things while the money just drips up front, up top, and we never get a trickle down effect. The only trickle down that we get is more disappointment and disengagement with the system. All I can say is come over here to the Green. We'll help you understand your way out. This quagmire of chaos called American political system. It's corrupt. I know I'm being harsh and I'll probably get paddled for it, but hey, I don't hold any words back. For the poor and disenfranchised, we are the power. We just haven't realized it and haven't used it. I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and vote Green, vote Jill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chester. Thank you so much. Thank you for being the inspiration and the powerhouse there in the 1st Congressional District. And this is the powerhouse here in our house who's come to take over the Zoom here if he gets his way. And so, yeah, what an inspirational crew. Thank you so much, Chester, for leading the charge and telling it like it is. And Chester, what is your social media? Because Chester's Twitter is awesome and just gives just is very uplifting every day. Chester, what's your social media?
ChesterTodd.org, Chester Todd for Congress, and then Chester Todd on the Facebook.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, definitely check out Chester and stay with him. I'm going to turn it over now to Jason, who just landed, I think, maybe an hour ago, and is juggling lawsuits and lawyers and trying to get our case and cats, and trying to get our Supreme Court case launched, I hope, in Nevada. See if we can still pull a rabbit out of the hat on that one. And so take it away, Jason, and let's get down to some business and put some dollars behind this campaign and seize the moment. Go ahead, Jason.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jill. And thank you to everybody who was here speaking. Kshama Sawant, Susan Abulhawa, Brittany Johnson, and Chester Todd, and our vice presidential nominee, Professor Butch Ware, who is going to join us a little bit later for some fundraising pitches, but he's in transit. I believe it's his brother's birthday today, so they're off to family housing, and then he'll join us a little bit. But I do want to speak briefly. This is a fundraiser first, and I'll talk about the fundraiser, but I just want to speak briefly about our most recent trip. We were just in Florida. Florida is we are on the ballot in Florida. It is one of the states that the Green Party has retained ballot access in from the prior election. So if people want to understand why ballot access is so important, turning out the vote is so important, is that if you hit certain percentages, and it varies from state to state, then you retain ballot access in the next year and you do not have to do petitioning. So we have done a lot of petitioning around the country in a number of states, and then there are a number of states where we have not had to petition, in Florida being one of them, California, Texas, Michigan, etc. So, really turning out the vote, when we're talking about getting a good vote turnout in this election, it will help us stay on the ballot for future elections. And we were in Florida to stand in solidarity with the Uhuru Three, who are being charged by the federal government as being foreign agents because they inadvertently took $400 that was sourced to a Russian. This is not like they're taking money from Russians, but somehow money crept in there and they didn't know about it. And now this is how the federal government turns on people who are strong activists and strong voices for democracy, that they want to charge an 82-year-old man, an activist from the original Black activist from the 60s, and they want to put him in jail, effectively potentially a death sentence for him, because the jail term is up to 15 years. So we were in Florida to stand with Amal Yeshitela and the Uhuru Three for their trial, and we visited them in the courthouse. And we were also there to visit Jacksonville University. In the chat here, Professor George Mahfood from Jacksonville University hosted Jill for an absolutely wonderful talk that we have the video of now. And I really want to say that we are going to clip out from that a number of Jill's answers. But in particular, one of the charges by the Democrats is, what has Jill done with her life? And the intro his name was Rick, and we're in touch, but he is the chair of the public policy department at Jacksonville University, and he gave the most wonderful introduction to Jill that outlined her decades of activism and accomplishment for the grassroots movements, for the people working on environmental causes, working on causes of democracy, and winning. So when people like AOC come out there and they slam Jill and they say, what has Jill done over the last 4 years? Let me tell you, when you see this clip, this introductory clip, you're going to see what Jill has done over a lifetime of activism. And again, I say this every time I get to speak. I am just honored to be a part of this campaign, working alongside Jill and this whole campaign team, and now Butch Ware. So On that note, let's get into what we're here for, also how we build power. And I want people to know that we have some upcoming trips planned. As Butch noted, we're going to be in Washington, D.C. and New York. And just to express how hard this team is working, travel is brutal, but we have to be places. We were just in Florida for a week. I am home. I'm going to be here less than 24 hours. I'm being mobbed by my cats. I got home less than an hour ago, and within 24 hours, I have to be back on a plane to DC and New York. So we are giving up our family time. We're giving up time with our pets who we love and who love us. And as you can tell, Willie's all over, and I've got two of my cats right next to me here. So but this travel costs money, and we are putting it to good use. Unfortunately, a lot of it we do have to spend on the egregious legal challenges. We are talking with lawyers, as Jill said. The Nevada Supreme Court has ruled against us in a 5-2 decision. The two who were in the minority who opposed the ruling really spoke out about how anti-democratic it was for the Nevada Secretary of State to literally give us the wrong forms and then hold us to those forms as if it was our responsibility to know. They basically said, well, you should have known you had the wrong forms. And when we're talking about the wrong forms, we're talking about some fine print. We're talking about the petitioners had not signed the correct affidavit that said, that they were, legally allowed to be petitioners or whatever it was. I haven't even looked at it that closely. All I know is it was some fine print that was absent from the form that they were supposed to be using, and that negates almost 30,000 Nevadans who signed those petitions who wanted Jill to be on the ballot, and they are being denied. This is what the Democrats are doing right now, is they are literally denying an entire state the opportunity for democracy, and we've got to hold them to account. So yes, we're talking to lawyers this weekend, and we are going to determine a pathway to try and take this thing right to the Supreme Court and have them put a stay on this ruling so that we can retain ballot access in Nevada. So when the Democrats are out there selling themselves as, hey, you've got to vote for us against the Republicans because we're the ones that are going to save democracy. I mean, we have the evidence right in our face that they do not care one whit about democracy. They are only interested in their own power. And so we know that we want to bring power to the people. We want to build the grassroots movement. We want to represent marginalized communities. That's why we're out on the ground meeting with the formerly incarcerated community, the Black community, the Muslim community, the Latino community. We're going to be in California this coming weekend to meet with our allies in the Latino community and the Muslim American, Arab American community. All of this travel for a team, it does add up. We are putting those dollars to work as wisely as we possibly can, but that travel does add up. And so this is a fundraiser for our travel expenses, for our legal expenses. And I want to say we have some people who are offering matching funds, matching donations. They will match. And if Georgia, can you put that in the chat for me, and I can read out what the match is going to be. We have some people who have offered to match their donation. Susan Abulhawa is one of them. She will match a $3,300 max out donation, so $3,300. Here we go. We've got it. $3,300 is the maximum donation you can give in the general election. Susan Abulhawa has said if somebody else will donate $3,300, she will match that donation. We have Mary Michael, who is, and that is specifically so that we can create a professional ad. People say to us, how come we don't see any ads running? Well, ads have not been a part of our budget, but now that we are moving to get out the vote, we do want to have some professional ads. They do take money. We have to hire people. We always want to pay people for their labor. We do not expect people to work for free. So if somebody was willing to do a $3,300 donation, we have Susan Abulhawa who will match that $3,300 donation. We also have our friend in Southern California, Ron Rodarte, who's been a big supporter of ours. He has said that if somebody donates $3,300, so if we get two $3,300 donations, we get two matches. So if you're inspired from our speakers here, and I see Butch has joined us now, gotten to where he was. So if you have been inspired by our speakers, and know what the mission is, and really say, people say, I don't see the Green Party out there. Part of it has to do with funding. I just want to be very honest with you. We want to create a pro ad for Jill and Butch, and we want to start putting that out there in the public all over the place. So if we can get two $3,300 donations, we will get two matches for those $3,300 donations from Susan Abulhawa and Ron Rodarte. Our supporter, Mark L. Borno, who is an advisor to the team, has said also, if somebody donates $1,400, if you can make a $1,400 donation, he will match that $1,400. So all of this, $3,300 twice, so that's $6,600, taking it up to $8,000. 3 donations totaling $8,000 will bring in another $8,000 in matches. We will have $16,000 that will go directly into creating a professional ad that we can put out there in the public right now. And you have heard tonight that Jill and Butch are bringing the heat, they're bringing the fire, they're bringing the goods. They know how to communicate to the American public, and we just need a wider audience for that. So on that, I'm not watching. I usually call out donations that are coming in. I'm not watching that right now. So if you have donated, if there have been, we've got Justin Beth. I literally just talked to Justin Beth on the phone the other night, and he says, I need to make a donation to Jill. Justin Beth has offered up one of those $3,300 donations. So if we had another one in there,
And thank you.
yeah, then we will have $6,600. And now Butch has said he will match an 1111 donation if 3 other people give 1111. Butch himself will give 1111, and that's in the chat right now. So thank you, Justin, Beth. Thank you to everybody else who's donating. I want to turn it over to Butch to talk for a minute, and then I'll get back and I'll call out some names of people who have donated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. So first and foremost, as Malcolm mentioned, we cannot let our enemy define for us the horizon of our possibilities. When I was a 30-year-old assistant professor at Northwestern University, I wrote a grant for the Ford Foundation that ended up bringing in $1.1 million, okay? And as a first-year assistant professor, started administering a research program spread out over 3 continents. And I think that part of the reason why we were successful in running this grant is that we did not have any fear of implementing the program that we signed up to do. We were not colonized in the inside of our heads. We did not have a scarcity mindset. We did not believe that we were on the outside. We believed that people had not yet realized that we were establishing a new intellectual center. And that's what I see in this movement. What I see in the Green Party is actually the middle where Americans actually are. Americans are actually concerned about bringing power back to the people. They don't want to get caught up in culture wars between so-called left and so-called right, liberal foxes and conservative wolves. People want to actually bring kitchen table issues back, popular democracy back. And we need to inspire people. The Green Party is positioned to inspire people, but it is going to take green dollars to do it. It is time for this community to put its money where its mouth is. And that's why I'm ponying up $1,111. I've already contributed $1,111. So I'm getting close to my $3,300 max. And I have a report of another $3,300 max that came at my nephew's. It's actually my niece and nephew's birthday party. My brother's birthday was last week, and then his kids are follow right in behind him. So at that, Tom Prosser, the founder of Rainbow Tree Care, and by the way, Rainbow Tree Care now does currently a revenue of $23.9 million per year, and it was started by Tom Prosser. My stepdad, when my mom remarried, Tom started a tree care company to fight against Dutch elm disease, to preserve trees, to turn the planet green. And when he saw you pulled me onto the ticket, Jill, he said, "Where do I sign?" So Tom Prosser has announced his 3,300 max donation, and he's recorded a video with his official endorsement of the Green Party candidacy this year. So that's 3,300. Okay. And what I'm going to say is that if we think about this creatively, because when I was brought on the team, I was told that in basically the 10 months or 11 months of the campaign, we had raised 1.1 million. And we need to raise 1.1 million in the next week. That's what we need in order to be competitive with these people.
On that note, Butch, I
Please.
do want to break in, and I do want to note that Ruth Walker has donated $2,000 today to match
with it.
Mary Michael's donation. So I want to
Come
say
on with
right
it.
now, for the matches that we have that we just spoke about, Mary Michael's 2,000, Ron Rodarty's 3,300, and Susan Abulhawa's 3,300. All of those have been matched. If somebody can donate $1,400, that means Mark Elborno's donation will be matched, and we will have a full match for all the people who came into this today saying. So we have, I'm just going to read off what we have right now. Tracy Paradiso's donated $100, Claire Cohen $200, Ruth Walker again $2,000, which, by the way, is in addition to the $3,300 that Ruth donated in the primary. So Ruth has donated $5,300 to this campaign, this election cycle. Thank you so much, Ruth. Susan Witka, by the way, Butch, has donated $1,111. So there's
Need
one.
two more. Yep,
There's
need two
one.
more. Need two more, and I'm
Miriam
ponying it up.
Hassan, $100, Terrence Tovar, $24, Connie Novak, $10, and Nihad Kaiserudin, $3,300 for one of those $3,300 matches, along with Justin Beth. So thank you so much. Sandy, I always get your name wrong, but Sandy, $24 in Buffalo. Keith Joho has said, I'm reading this in the chat, Keith Joho will match a $1,200 donation. So we have a $1,200 donation. Janine, let me say $3,300 for the primary and $3,300 for the general. So when I say Ruth has donated a total of $5,300, $3,300 of that was in the primary. The primary period lasted until Jill was nominated in mid-August, and then the donations reset, and you can donate another $3,300. So that's how that works. And that's why we were talking about primary matching funds when the federal government was withholding that money from us, that $350,000. That was from the primary. Those were our matching funds from the primary. Now, we don't have an opportunity to get general election matching funds, and that's why those primary matching funds were so important to us. But that distinguishes the primary donation period and the general election donation period, which we're in right now. So thank you so much. Jeffrey Paris, $108, and I'm trying to read through here. Linda Thompson, thank you so much. Linda has matched Mark's $1,400 donation. Every single matching offer now that we came into this live stream knowing was on the table has been matched now. You guys are absolutely wonderful. This is grassroots organizing. It doesn't happen without your dollars. Jill, I'm going to hand it over to you for a minute if you want to say something.
Oh boy, I just feel like there's a kind of a tide turning right now, that we are standing up. The Democrats are running really scared. They have been striking out. They've been, pulling out all the stops. Their army of lawyers, they're infiltrators, they're spies, they're hijacking our funds. And then they pull out Jamie Harrison, the head of the DNC, and he completely falls all over himself trying to smear us. And then AOC does the same thing. And, it's like, and then suddenly we have all this interest from media as well. As Butch was saying, we're going to be on Mehdi Hassan, like day after tomorrow. We're going to be doing Piers Morgan, day after tomorrow also. I mean, we have all these gigs now, and people seem to be really interested. I would not rule out, just a complete 180 in this election when people start getting wind that there is an option here that's of, by, and for the people, which is anti-political, which is just regular people, human beings, who are free from the stranglehold of big money and corporations. We do not use all the loopholes for legalized bribery. We don't do that stuff. We're all about just regular people and what we need right now. Medicare for all, housing as a human right, rent control federally, ending the power of private equity to buy up all our housing and drive the prices up. A Green New Deal, which by the way is part of our day one agenda, declaring the climate emergency and unleashing over $500 billion per year to start creating those green jobs. When people start getting that this is what we're about, and we're like, we leave the other candidates in the dust because we're just not part of that corrupt culture, and we have real solutions to offer that we can afford, that are for people, not for corporations, not for our donors. We could just see this whole political system turn on its head. So I just want to share the incredible excitement, these really powerful speakers that we had here tonight, who are all reaching out and mobilizing their own communities. The Muslim American, the African American communities now are really starting to organize, and they have very deep and wide organizations.
Yep.
We have never had an election like this before, where we Greens have had the credibility and the kind of reach to be able to piggyback with a whole lot of other organizations. We have Kshama Sawant bringing the Workers Strike Back Network and the power of mobilized labor. It's kind of beyond a dream come true right now, and it's happening at the same time that this genocide is completely going off the charts. At the same time, I must say, the Israeli economy is completely melting down. People are leaving. The economy has contracted something like 20%. I heard today there's a fabulous interview done by Shir Hever, his name is. He's a political economist, interviewed by Ali Abunimah in the Electronic Intifada. Strongly recommend it, talking about how the Israeli economy is really kind of biting the dust right now. They're just not going to be here much longer at all. And when the economy goes down, you can be sure their military, it's over. And we need to be here.
I got to break in and make some announcements. Butch,
okay, all right, great. Let's hear
it. You are on the hook for 1111. Jason Hammer and Deepak Sampathu, both with 1111. So that means we have 3 1111 donations.
Hold on though. I saw Coach Jason. So Coach Jason Hammer, who Jill, I think you guys got a picture with Jason and Tamara. They have conditions attached to their 1111. I don't know if you saw it scroll by in the chat. Did you see the condition?
No,
what is it? They said that I have to recite the bars that I started on the Chris Hedges show, and I'll do it because we want that 1111. Go ahead, yeah.
Wait until I read off some of these names, because I do want to shout out to our donors.
Please do.
Melinda Ladd, $250. Kim Lofness, thank you, Kim. $1,200. Does that match? Somebody said they'd give a $1,200 match, and it's and Janine Fitament, who sent in $1,000 check, says she's going to get the other $2,300 in the mail on Monday. So that's a $3,300 donation. I have some more to read out. So Kim, $1,200. I don't remember if that is a match, but I'll scroll back through the chat and find out. Andrew Large, $24. And I'm scrolling back because I had another bunch of names I needed to read out. Here we go. William O'Malley, $250. Liza Rucroft, $50. Rania Masri, $100. Nina Luxembourg, $250. Sabrina Falk, $100. Amy Sachs, $30. Lauren Devine, $500. Isla Abassi, $100. This is absolutely incredible. I really feel that you are feeling what's going on here, that the movement is happening. The money comes when people are inspired, and how could you get 2 more inspirational people than we have on stage right here with us right now, and Jill Stein and Butch Ware, who I feel I've gotten to know well over the last few weeks that he's been on the campaign. I feel like we are kindred spirits here, and I'm so honored. I'm so honored to have you with us. So Jill, did you want to get back to what you were saying?
Well, I just want to give two other pieces of really good news, which again are a sign of the times, like we're in this perfect storm, which gets more powerful by the hour here. Someone wrote in the chat that the city of Toledo has just basically voted to divest from, corporations investing in Israel, and to shout out again for Portland, Maine, where their city council, where we have a green on that city council, that they too have basically voted to divest now from corporations that are connected to the genocide in Israel. So it just feels like the universe is, it is bending. It's bending right now towards
Well,
justice,
there
and we
could
are
be
witness to
there
history.
could be no clearer marker that the Democrats are on the wrong side of history than them cheering their endorsement by black-hearted Dick Cheney, who is somebody that I literally left the country over when he was reelected. I was one of those people. I protested the Iraq War from day one. I took part in the February 15th, 2003. It was the march around the world, where it's called literally the day the world said no to war. You probably remember that. I was here in Seattle with 40 or 50,000 people, but there were 500,000 people in London and Madrid and Rome and New York and Los Angeles. There were millions of people around the world, and we said, don't you do this thing. We know this is wrong. And they did it anyway. And the Republicans, the Bush and Cheney administration, did it with the full faith and credit of the Democratic Party, who supported them every step of the way. I think it was only a single Democrat, Paul Wellstone, who stood up against that. And here we are. And so I left the country. I was a high school teacher. I gave up a wonderful job. I gave a job up. I sold my house. I moved my family to teach. I was a high school teacher, moved my family to teach in Cairo, Egypt, because I could not be in the same country anymore with people who would reelect those war criminals. And here we are 20 years later with the Democratic Party hailing black-hearted Dick Cheney, who shot somebody in the face and got away with it. Black-hearted Dick Cheney, and they are touting this endorsement as if it is something to be proud of. It just tells you exactly where the Democrats are.
Wait, Jason. So hold on. You're saying that Halliburton is not the good guys? I'm confused.
Right. Couple more donations. Marie Sullivan, $50. Arlene Talopko, $24. Marilyn O'Connell, $75. And another 1111, Rosemary Farr. So thank you so much. I'm going to scroll down and see if there have been any more. Kenneth Fogarty, I saw you post a couple of times in the chat. I have to scroll back to get it, but I know Kenneth Fogarty says he has donated $1,100. Donating another $600 today, if I'm right, and then we'll donate another $1,100. And I think Kevin Fogarty said he's on his way to maxing out to this campaign. So Kevin, I didn't remember exactly what you wrote there, but you've donated a big chunk, and we're appreciative. Thank you so much. Let's see. Rania Masri, $124. Lauren, we got you $500. Keith wants to match the $1,200. Okay, so we do have the $1,200 that Kim Lofness donated. That is now matched. So thank you so much. And I think, let's see here. Paul Citro, $50. Steve Welser says he'll match $500. And I think that $500 did come in. Henry Schwartz, $100. Let's see here. I'm scrolling. I'm not seeing any. Elizabeth Silva, $100. And let's see here. Well, let me let Jill and Butch talk, and I will rack up some more names to talk to you
Just
about.
real quick, early on in the chat, Linda Wan, I don't know if you already named her, Jason, but she contributed 500. So
Okay.
big thank you,
Thank
Linda.
you.
And then I think, Butch, you have some bars to
Oh yeah, let's do the
to
bars.
share.
All right. So
let's do it.
before we get to the bars, and somebody said, "What is 1111?" Listen, like James Brown said, everything we do is still on the one. So we are not running for second place. We're not running for third place. We are running for number one. So that's why everything that I do is in increments of 11. So the first thing is that everybody that's come in with one of these $500 donations or lower, everybody given according to their means, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. They can't all be max donations, but here's what you got to do is that whatever you gave, whether it's $20 or up to $3,300, the most important thing that you can do is find 11 more people that will give what you gave. That this is not an each one teach one situation. This is an each one reach one situation. We need a multiplying factor in this because we are not taking any of that crooked corporate money. We're not using any of the loopholes. So that means that you got to find 10 people, 11 people like you positioned and extend like your credibility, the good faith that you have built up in these relationships over the course of years. Let people know that you are now pushing your chips into the middle because this is an incorruptible team up here. Jill Stein has lived her life in the public and in the open, committed to principles, as have I. And we are standing up
with
nothing to hide from anyone.
Nothing to hide.
And the thing is, in my tradition, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, when they tried to get him to buy him off of his mission of bringing justice, of bringing light and bringing goodness, he said that if you were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not desist. And I know that that is Jill Stein. If you were to offer her the sun in one hand and the moon in the other, she is not going to stop fighting for justice. So that means that you guys also have to be willing to risk those relationships for what you believe in this moment. Do not go in with a weak, soft sell to your friends. Stand up and speak the truth in your own circles and get those people on board so that they will donate. That means putting yourself out there. And I'm going to tell you part of the reason why before I spit these bars. The reason is that this is part of how the media keeps score. The media will only pay attention when we raise funds and when we register voters. And that is on you guys as a community to get people registered and to get the numbers up. When the numbers of registrations and donations come up, then the media is going to have to cover us. Those are two pillars that you guys are going to have to provide. And Jill and I are already working on the third, which is that we are hitting them, the third and fourth, that we are hitting them so hard in social media and so hard now upcoming in conventional media that they are going to have to let us on a debate stage at some point in time. And once that happens,
let's review that.
Go ahead, please.
It's upcoming in the next 2 days. Like I said, I'm flying out to DC to meet Butch and Jill, and we are going to do a spot on Piers Morgan. Now, whatever you think about Piers Morgan, he has a massive reach, and he's going to give Jill some one-on-one time. We're then going to be on the Superhuman podcast with Katie Bogan and Hani. I forget Hani's last name. We are then going to be doing a spot with Mehdi Hassan, something that we've been angling for a while. And then the next morning, Tuesday morning, The Breakfast Club with Charlemagne the God. We are going to be then doing an interview with Middle East Eye. And then I want everybody to come back on Tuesday night, because if you weren't aware, on Tuesday night, we are having the very first Harris-Trump debate. And just like we did a live stream alongside, we did a debate watch party for the Biden-Trump debate, that debacle, and Jill gave her commentary after. We're going to do exactly the same thing this Tuesday night. We're going to parallel do a debate watch for the Harris-Trump debate, and then Jill's going to give some commentary after. I'm going to hold off on the bars here because I want to read out some names here to honor our supporters. Yiling Huang, $5, Precious Boone, $50, Christine Bart, $10, Mario Diaz, $500, Jeff Burgett, $10, Shel Mendelson, $100, Jerry King, $100, Elizabeth Silva, $100, Paul Citro, $50, Joanne Benjamin, $5, Jane Binkert, $50, Christina, I don't know your last name, $50. I'm going to stop it right there. Butch, let's have some bars.
And before he does, I want to just give a really big thank you. Whatever the size of your donation, it's huge. And when people are reaching down into their pockets and they're coming up with $5 or $2, it means all the more, when you're on a tight budget. So don't feel like this is about how much you contribute. This is about the fact
really want to reiterate that.
You're part of this.
As a candidate for Congress myself, I had somebody write to me one time. He says, I'm giving you $10 a month. I know it's not much, but I don't donate to political candidates, and you have inspired me to donate. I don't donate to political candidates, and I don't have much to donate. So me giving you this $10 is meaningful, and trust me,
Yeah.
your $5 donation, if that's what you can give because you're inspired by this campaign and that's what you can give, it is just as meaningful because for whatever you can do, you have been turned on to this campaign and you are going to do good works going forward for this campaign. So I don't want to say it's all about the money. Sometimes it's the inspiration and people who give a small amount, because that is like, it's kind of like if I don't have a lot of money, right? That's a big percentage of what I can give. We want you to understand that that is just as meaningful to us. So thank you so much, regardless of the donation. All right,
That's
some
right.
bars from Butch.
Well, yeah, and before I spit them, I'm just going to say that in the Wolof language, language I learned to speak fluently when I was doing my field research in Senegal, they say "nit nit ay garabam," which means people are people's medicine. The truth is that the most valuable and significant, important resource.
Oh, did we lose Butch, or is that me?
Let's see. I'm hearing you, Jason.
Okay.
So
I think Butch,
Butch-
your streaming paused a second. Let me read off some more names. Philip Westfall, $100. Linda Thompson, $1,400. That was a match. We'll get Butch back in a second.
Okay, I think I
Rolanda
froze.
Carr,
Sorry.
Oh, there
$50.
you are. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, great.
Christina
You're
Costa,
back.
$50. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. I think I froze there. All I wanted to say was that people are people's medicine, and that really the most important resource that we have is one another. The relationships that we're building, the connections of the hearts of the people in this virtual room, and your connections to your communities, because it is the goodness of the hearts of the people in this room that is going to actually make this ticket move. So listen, I'll deliver this over a beat on the Breakfast Club. And I don't have it memorized just yet, but this is what I started to write. Oh, and in case you didn't know, in addition to writing academic books, I also produce music. I'm working with a group of talented young MCs. We founded a group called Slum Prophecy. So check out our latest album. And here's what we've got so far, okay? The truth of this campaign is that you never saw us coming. The proof behind the claim we got these politicians running. For Trump, it's Judgment Day, be no evading of the summons. Kamala is a betrayer, stop playing in the culture. Perpetrator, she be faking on the block, yo. Like Drake, she ain't like us, nah, she a cop, bro. You know it's no love for a black Gestapo. Kamala cop, Mala bacon, let it fry, yo. You ain't nothing but a 5-0 and you take black life for cheap. Lock us up inside these cages and you throw away the key. Black skin, white mask, black face, minstrel C, half brown, half black, racist, white supremacy. I've seen them coconut memes. You got the wrong imagery. It ain't about it ain't about falling out the tree. It's about mentality. Brown on the outside, yeah, that's a coconut to me. But when you open it, you find a colonizer in the mind. It's the people's revolution, and the people know the time. Ask Cam about reparations, hem and haw, and shuck and jive. 3 weeks ago was teaching, got a call from Jill Stein, asked what she bringing to the nation, land back and reparations, promising cash payments and free in Palestine, liberation of the Congo, Sudan, and Rikers Isle. No more locking brothers up on the pettiest of crime. No Latinas up in cages, no dividing of the races. Drugs a public health problem, not incarceration. Instead of time in jail, disempower the cartels. You can holler at the Muslims and ask about me. Been teaching to the masses since 2003. And never for a second did a brother like me think that I'd be running for this office. Butch Ware for BP.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's
Thank you,
great.
Butch. I'm gonna get back to some $50 donation by check coming from Fran Sanderson. Thank you. I'm gonna scroll down and see if I can find more. Let's see here. Keith just donated the $1,200 match, so thank you. I don't know Keith's last name, Nassim. So if you want to drop his last name, that would be wonderful. And I'm honestly, I'm $300. I mean, I'm 300 messages behind here. So let me read. Henry Schwartz, $100. Farrah Johnson, $100. Paul Cole, $100. Deborah and Mark Hoytmaker, $24, $25. Carla Chapulis, $24. Dave Maracas, $111.11. Rosanna Rostad, $75. Richard Stone, $250. Daniel Vandermeulen, another max out donation, $3,300. Tayaba Sadiq, $24. Jasmine Arlen, $24. Keith Joho, $1,200. We got that one, Keith. Okay, so that's the Keith who donated the match. Thank you, Nasim. James Moore, $11.11. And let's see here. I think we're going to go about another 12 minutes and call it at the hour. So Jill, can I turn it back to you? Greg Palmier, $200. Jill, can I turn it back to you for some more inspiration?
Sure, sure, sure. And did you get Lynn Hassan for 1,000? I don't know if you said
I
that
think
one.
I missed that. Rashid
Yeah.
Ashraf, $100.
Woo.
Butch Froze, yep, that's how far back I am. Dina Pantalukas, $50. $100 from Sexy Dork 2001. I hope you get over that. I don't know what that means. P.S. Beloved, $120. Let's see here. Let's see. I want to call out some more names. $11 from Orson Maisel. Let's see here. I'm still 400 messages behind. I don't think I can keep up. I'm going to try. I'm going to let you talk, Jill.
Okay, great.
I'll
Great.
get
And
another list of names to call out.
I'll just deliver some more, good news, some more signs of the times, some more, signs that the universe is turning a corner here, which, it needs to happen for all of our sake. It needs to happen. We're going to do that debate on the 10th, and we'll be gathering after, and you can kind of think of it as political therapy, because people will be so, toxified by listening to this predatory blather that we'll hear from Trump and Kamala, and they'll be, just offending each other and dissing each other and talking politics as usual. And then we'll be able to get together and huddle and decompress and detoxify. So, it's like people are medicine for people, and we'll be doing that. We are doing that right now. I mean, that's what politics is about. And when we're out on the campaign trail, it's like we're all doing political therapy for each other by, by defying this very sick political system, this mother of all illnesses that our politics is. So we'll be doing the counterweight to that. And a couple other developments to name here. I saw today that this major French insurance company has divested from Israeli banks, that Ireland has prohibited the flight of weapons over their airspace, which is amazing. It's not only that weapons cannot land and be transferred.
That's my people. That's my people.
There you go. Well, that's where your spirit comes from, I guess, Jason. And above all, students are back. Students are back, and they're unstoppable and unflappable, and they are not going to be deterred. It's going to be really intense and inspirational, and it already is. At Columbia, where else were they? But, they're out in force, stronger than ever. So, the forces are gathering at the same time that the genocide has completely gone off the rails in a way that's just incredible. We hear that Israel is torturing healthcare providers, torturing doctors and nurses. Aside from assassinating them, now they're hijacking them and torturing them. We're also seeing more evidence, of what we already knew, which is that Netanyahu is destroying, any semblance of a ceasefire. It's a complete joke, actually. Not only assassinating the chief negotiator from Hamas, but also he keeps adding Netanyahu. Whenever there's a peace agreement on the table, he will add things that he knows that Hamas will not agree to. Like now, it's that they should permanently occupy this Philadelphia corridor, which basically means that Gaza will continue to be surrounded and enclosed. So it's nuts. And at the same time that the genocide is absolutely exploding, we the people and the forces of good are rising up in a way that's just
Absolutely.
unstoppable. Jason, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm going to read off some more names, and I want to say this to people who are still watching. And I want to say this is incredible. We started off this, I think we were upwards of 380 people watching this webinar live. And we're 2 hours in, and we still got 262 people in this room right now watching. So here's what I'm going to say. We're going to call it at the hour. We got 7 minutes left. We're close to $35,000. I want to see us get to $35,000 with this. If Georgia can put a number and let us know where we are, just tell everybody where we are. I'm going to read some names, and I want to see if we can dig deep, just put a cap on this and say we're going to get to $35,000 today. So Leanne Bitar, $6. Annette Carpian, $111.11. Annalie Dillon, $111. Alan Gamble, $11.11. Basil Taha, $75. Gwendolyn Skaggs, $75. Mark Dolman, $25. I had some other names up here that I saw. I'm just going to scramble up. We're looking for $35,000. Let's see. Maybe I got all the names. Rafat Huey, $100. I saw that one. CLIC Masjid, $100.
Wow.
Let's see here. I think that's everything right now.
We have 82.
Johnson,
And then they just-
$111.
Yeah, when we
So,
just got another
Georgia, can you
111.
post where we are right now? And we're just going to hit it hard with whatever you can do to bring us to $35,000.
And we are
Joe.
at 8,200 live viewers on Twitter, which is
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
all you folks out there on Twitter, if you contribute $5,
Yeah,
$11.
we're off to the
$11.
races.
$11. Give us
11. Make it
$11.
11.
$11
Make it
each.
$11.
Michelle Lopez, $35. I almost said $35,000. $35. Crystal Sheridan, $50. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
8,000 people watching on Twitter. I wonder how many watching on YouTube, and we still got 260. So we're actually
Next time we do it, we got to do a live, open Jill's IG live and my IG live together, because we probably get another 1,000 people on that thing if we had it live. Jason, can I jump in? Because I got to hop off actually before the top of the hour. I just got one last thing to say. So when I made a similar pitch in the Muslim community, I was talking to Inner City Mosque. This is a Lighthouse Mosque in Oakland, okay, where I do a lot of programming, right smack dab in the middle of the hood in Oakland. And they said to me, they called me by my Muslim name, said, Dr. Bilal, Dr. Butch, we don't have people in this community that are just going to write a $3,300 check. But here's what they said. They said that we can make the rounds in this masjid, in this mosque, and this mosque can contribute $3,300. Okay, the community here can contribute $3,300. So this is the call, right? If we have 360 community centers, mosques, educational institutions, canvas your people inside your institutions, 360 degrees in a circle, and bring 3,300 from those institutions, from those community organizations, that right there is $1.1 million. So when you leave this gathering, whatever you have given, start organizing your local institutions, your local community organizations, the spaces in which you are looked to as a thought leader and someone that helps guide people to what's good, and start putting those 360 degrees of a circle together. We are going to do this together. People are people's medicine, and I actually have to jump off the call. So I'll leave everyone in the capable hands of Jason and Jill, and we'll see you guys on a couple Zooms tomorrow. Jason, we'll touch base on the timing of those. Okay, take care.
We got 4 minutes left. Here's what I'm going to ask. Can we get 100 more people to give us $25? 100 more people giving us $25 would bring us to $35,000. We're about 31,500 right now, and I know we've had about $1,500 in checks committed. So we'll say, yeah, Cindy, we got your $24. So, so I would say if 100 people could give $25, that'd bring us to $35,000, and it would just be an absolutely fantastic night for this campaign. Thank you so much. Barbara Finney, $25. Thank you.
Right. Thank you,
Shireen
Barbara.
Mirza, $500. Thank you so much. Christine Bark, $11.11. Tana Welch, $24. Brittany Johnson, $111. Kelly Zaban, $111. Crystal Sheridan, $50. Selena Doherty, $5. Michael Golab, $24. Philip Westfall, $11.11. Talal Borno, $24. Kurt Stiles, $24. Jacqueline Royal, $50. I'm looking at the numbers right here. Lana, $25. Thank you. $100 from Nasim. Thank you. Dee Dee Bell, $25. Rose, $25. Aaron King, $50. The Hammers, another $25. Yes, Miriam, we count your $25. Auto pay, absolutely. Rashid Ashraf, $25. Lauren, another $25. Probably another 50 people giving $25, and then we're there. The numbers are coming in so quickly right now that we can't keep track of it. We're going to have 2 minutes left. Jill, I'm going to let you close this out. 2 more minutes. Kick in another $25 if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is what people power is about. This is what, grassroots power is about. This is about small donations. This is about everybody doing what they can do and us being an absolutely unstoppable movement together. This is about the Muslim American community stepping up. This is about the Arab American community. This is also about the post-incarceration community. This is about the Black community. This is about the former Black Panthers who are organizing. This is about Workers Strike Back. This is about people fighting for health care. This is about people demanding housing as a human right for everyone. There's no reason that we cannot be investing in public housing now, so-called social housing, which is renewably powered, which is sustainably built, which incorporates green space and transit development. This is part of what we will be declaring when we turn the White House into a greenhouse and our administration comes into power on day one. It is a climate emergency, unleashing a huge amount of money. So we're actually building that housing as part of the Green New Deal. We're building the transportation. We are creating the clean renewable energy. This is not workers versus the environment and our climate and environmental future. This is about no worker left behind. This is about workers out front leading the charge and leading dignified and safer lives for moving from the military industry or the fossil fuel industry, which are dangerous jobs, which make workers sick, which make our communities sick, which pollute our water supply and our air. This is about doing things right for the health of working people, for the health of our economy, for the health of our communities. We can do this right. And by creating an America that works for us, we're also creating a world that works for all of us. Because as Buckminster Fuller said, like back in the 1970s, it's all of us or it's none of us, and the time is now. And he was right then, but those words have really been coming into fruition. So, this is the time for us to stand up and do like Frederick Douglass said, power concedes nothing without a demand. We are that demand together. And in the words of Alice Walker, biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it. We've got it. Right now, we are beginning to manifest that power. So thank you all so very much for leading the charge. Thank you, Jason. Thank you to Brittany. Thank you to Kshama. Thank you to Susan Abulhawa. Thank you for Kelly having started us at the outset. Who am I missing?
Chester
Thank you.
Todd,
Yes,
Brittany
Chester
Johnson.
Todd as well, and all the folks behind the scenes making this happen. Georgia on our fundraising, and Rose and Mark Alborno and Elena. Thank you to this whole amazing team. Thank you, Justin Paglino. Thank you, everybody who's been working on the ballot drive. It's incredible that we are going to wind up being on the ballot for somewhere around 90 to 95% of voters, in spite of the Democrats having pulled out all the stops. So we are are an unstoppable force together. Thank you all so much.
I
Go
gotta
ahead,
jump in
Jason.
here. We're over $37,000 now.
Oh
So
my God.
thank
Oh my
you. This
God.
is absolutely incredible. And I do want people to have the confidence that we're putting this money to good use. We are going to get working because remember, we had all those matches to make a professional ad. We're going to be getting to work right away on that professional ad. We have hired new staff members this week. We have hired people to be regional field directors. We're working on Southern California, on Texas and the Southwest. We're working in the Atlanta region. We've hired additional help for our social media presence. We've hired additional help for our graphics. So we are expanding the team. Your donations are helping us hire the staff that we need to really make this a full-on Blitz nationwide campaign. We're going to take the nation by storm. We're going to turn the White House green. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Jason.